Here we have DynamoDB.py, which is a prototype that lets me play around with the CRUD operations in DynamoDB and Python. So create, update, delete type operations. And what I can do next here is actually prototype it pretty easily because notice here I'm in a virtual environment and all I have to do now is go ahead and type in Python. Once I get the Python shell, I can play around with the code. So first up, we can actually say from DynamoDB import everything, then go ahead and start playing around with the functions that are inside. In this case, it's create table, so that creates the table. If we want to scroll down here next, we can say list tables. Now, remember, in this case, it's going to be a list, so what I would need to do is basically call this tables, make it a variable, and do list tables, and then I could just basically say tables and take the first item inside the list. For example, it says, oh, it's not scriptable, not a problem. So what we could do instead is we could just say for table and tables, and we could actually go here, print table, right? There's lots of ways to interact with whatever it is you're working that's an iterable. Now, we could actually go next here and say put item. Let's go ahead and do that next. Perfect. And you can see here pretty easy. You just say table put item. We want to do get item. Also pretty easy. We can just go ahead and call get item here. And these defaults here are pretty helpful because it'll set up the connection if it's not already available. And then in this case as well, it just gets it by the key. Now, if we want to update a little more code here, but not much, which is I create an expression that allows me to update the name or values. We can go ahead and do that by running an update item command. Let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. And then if we want to query an item, what's going to happen here is we're going to see that it's been changed. So let's go ahead and query these items. And we can see, in fact, that the customer name has been changed. And then now that we've done all of our work here, let's go ahead and do a brute force, which is a scan items, which would actually give us everything in the table in a brute force fashion. So if you had millions of things, you would have to be careful. And then we can delete the item, which again is pretty simple to delete an item here. And then finally, whenever you're doing some kind of prototype or demo, you should take care to delete everything you did. So let's go ahead and delete the table here. First up, before I run this, let's go ahead and go to AWS Toolkit. Let's go to a refresh, and we should see the table, a customer table should populate, which it does. If we delete this and we go back to the refresh, it's going to actually show that it was deleted, which is a good way to verify that you've cleaned everything up. So pretty straightforward to use Python to interact with DynamoDB, especially if you have access to Visual Studio Code, Code Whisperer, and AWS Toolkit.